Welcome back. You're still with us on ET Insight. It's indeed heartening to see a nation wake up against rampant corruption. But the menace of corruption is not new to the country. It has in fact taken a huge toll and eaten into India's growth. Lakshmi Subramaniam has more details.
31,000 crore rupees. That's the amount of money that the government has allegedly lost in the 2008 2G spectrum auction scam. But that's just one swindle. From the LIC housing loan scam to the Commonwealth Games scam, from the Yediyurappa land scam to the Adarsh Society scam, corruption has reached new heights in India. Though there are no concrete figures yet, it is estimated that the total money involved could be in excess of 2 lakh crore rupees. So how does corruption affect the economy?
Corruption strikes at the roots of good governance. It is an impediment to faster growth. It dilutes, if not negates, our efforts at social inclusion. It dents our international image and it demeans us before our own people.
A KPMG survey on 100 Indian companies states that 68% respondents felt India can achieve more than 9% GDP growth if corruption is reduced. 31% felt corruption is a deterrent and a key risk to the projected 9% GDP rate. 51% of the respondents felt that India will attract lesser investment than its peers due to corruption. 46% felt that only certain sectors will attract investment, leading to skewed growth. All respondents also felt that corruption skews the level playing field and tends to attract organizations with lesser capability to execute projects. 99% also felt that it creates inefficiencies in the system and hence increases the cost of operations. 45% felt that corruption has a direct impact on their company's growth.
We all realize that whether it's corruption or lack of transparency, it's bad for economic growth. So if we improve in these directions, economic growth will improve and will benefit the whole country.
I think there is a broader issue of governance in the country which is coming up and is acknowledged by all. Therefore, to the extent that corruption has affected governance of the country, I think there's a price the country is paying.
KPMG's 2011 survey says that some industries tend to have relatively higher instances of bribery and corruption because they are closely linked with multiple parties in the government as well as in the private realm. So, it also asked its respondents to rate the industries they saw were more corrupt. Real estate topped the list of industries that are perceived as most corrupt, followed by telecom, the social development sector, financial services and defense.
Whilst today they do not believe it has limited their access to capital, but tomorrow they do feel that the cost of capital would go up if this thing is not controlled now.
It's not just businesses, but the fate of the economy as a whole that's at stake because the money involved is huge. It is widely known that corruption is one of the main drivers of illicit flows. According to a report by Washington-based NGO Global Financial Integrity, India lost a total of $213 billion between 1948 and 2008 due to illicit flows, the present value of which is at least $462 billion after adjusting it for accumulated interest. This is just 72% of the total illicit wealth that Indians have created. The balance 28 resides underground domestically. Put together, illicit money is estimated to be 50% of India's GDP. According to Global Financial Integrity, India is losing nearly 240 crore rupees every single day to illicit flows.
Illicit flows are draining much needed capital from India, which could have been used for economic development, which could have been used for alleviating poverty, for instance.
India ranks 87th in Transparency International survey on 178 countries. India's score on a scale of 10 is 3.3, indicating high levels of corruption versus Denmark, New Zealand and Singapore that score 9.3. And according to Hong Kong-based political and economic risk consultancy PERC, India has been classified as one of the most inefficient bureaucracies among 12 countries in Asia. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 indicates the worst, India scores 8.67, followed by Vietnam, China and Thailand. Singapore and Hong Kong emerged as the cleanest bureaucracies.
Well, basically, India came out as one of the more corrupt countries in the region, especially when it came to the public sector. It's been graded bad for a number of years now, but this year it's even worse than usual in terms of the absolute score, although in overall ranking it's about the same.
Over the last few months, India has seen several seasons of scams amidst high inflation. Now, you would think that the two aren't really related, but that's not true. In January, when onion prices shot up to 100 rupees a kilo, the IT department raided onion hubs and prices came down by as much as 30% within a week. Similarly, CBI has been investigating a rice scam in UP that is estimated to be worth 200,000 crore rupees.
The politicians don't want a cash transfer system, do not want a food stamp system, because that would mean less corruption money for them. Because if you had, the assumption is that if you have food stamps or cash transfers, that the level of corruption or the possibility of leakage will be much smaller.
India needs to clamp down on corruption, and the only way to do that is by bringing in more transparency in governance and a firm political will. To be fair, the government has made serious attempts to bring down corruption through e-governance, and now through Aadhaar or the UID project, which is expected to clean up the inefficiencies in the public distribution system by ensuring that subsidies reach the right people. And early this year, Congress President Sonia Gandhi had also announced a 5-point agenda for probity in public life. But all that is not nearly enough, because the government is on a back foot with several skeletons tumbling out of its closet, and it is under severe pressure to get its act together.
So what can India do to ensure better governance? Shanti Bhushan, the co-convener of the Lokpal Bill Drafting Committee, tells us that and a whole lot more on the other side of this break. Stay right there.